Welcome everyone to the interior of the Fiat 500e 2024. Let's power it on. We're gonna head on a little bit of a trip. I guess you just watch us charge just a little bit up to 88%, so we have at least around 130 miles of range. This should be around a total of almost an 80-mile round trip. Little trip here. We have a few different drive modes: a normal, range mode, and then the Sherpa mode. And range is kind of like your one pedal driving. Normal is pretty much like a gas car at the end of the day, and then Sherpa mode is a blend of both, I would kind of call it. Pretty cool stuff. I love the gauges, I love the space. The interior is really cool. We have Fiat spelled out on the seats, and we just finished topping it off with this Tesla Magic Dock supercharger. And let's head off on our destination now. So I have these buttons to put it into drive, and every first go off each start, it plays a violin Italian music sound at 20 miles an hour, which is, I think, the most interesting, quirky thing I've seen come out of some modern EVs. So we're getting really creative with these sounds here. A lot of interesting stares from these Tesla drivers here. I'm sure they're very curious as to why there is a Fiat charging at their station. But as we all know, Tesla's chargers have been opening up with those magic connectors now, and a lot of new vehicles will soon be coming out with the charging port standard, the Tesla style charging port, or the North American charging standard as it is now known as. Let's have a quick, hopefully we can listen to this interesting sound. I'll try to get up to 20 miles an hour without too much wind buffeting our sound here. If you listen very carefully, you can hear this like Italian theme song playing under there, which is a really cool little touch. I'll probably put a microphone on there to get you a little bit of a closer sound of that. But on the road cruising around, Fiat 500e is really comfortable, quite well built, honestly. I think this battery pack really helps this car. It has a much lower center of gravity now. It feels very planted and zippy now, like almost like a go-kart going around town, even more so than I think even a regular Fiat 500, just because of this electric powertrain. You know, it doesn't have a lot of power. We have around 115-ish horsepower, but that instant power and that torque, which is a little bit higher, I think it's around 160, it just comes on instantly. It really gets you up to go and around town really quickly. And I think this is an absolutely fantastic city car. It's so fun, comfortable, quirky, lots of features, and very, honestly, quite efficient for what it is. So like I said, we're going to head out onto the highway here. On the highway, I like to actually drive in normal mode so I can coast a little bit on the highway, and I will update you guys once we head out there. And just before we head out, 87% state of charge, 125 miles of range as of right now. We have around 41-ish miles left on this trip, so let's head off. Well, hello everyone. We have a little bit of an update here. We have now traveled 20-ish, or a little over 20 miles in the Fiat 500e out on the highway, and we have dropped around, oh boy, over 10% now. I believe we were at 88. I don't know why in my head I thought 82, but we've definitely lost some percentage here in the battery. We're now at 103 miles, so we've definitely lost some range and percentage out here on the highway. You know, we've gone up and down some hills, and the one downside today that I think is hampering this range just a little bit is that it is 96 degrees out with like 70% humidity. So it's hot out today, which sometimes at these higher end temperatures, like these really hotter temperatures, battery packs start to lose performance. Same thing at really cold temperatures. So that's one downside of battery packs. Same things happens with gas vehicles. Sometimes they don't run the best at super hot temperatures and super cold temperatures. So far we can check our information here. I really like this gauge, the instant consumption, to see how we are regenning as well as what's being used. Climate is actually on right now, very low, but it's using about 1 kilowatt of energy. So good to know that that's actually what's happening here. Now I did went and reset the trip computer about, I would say, 5 to 6-ish minutes in the trip. So I wouldn't say it's 100% accurate, if I can find it, on trip B. So in this one it says we've traveled 22.6 miles, around 60 miles per hour for our average speed here on the highway, which is, I think, a good average. We've averaged around 147.7 mpg around 22 minutes and almost 23 minutes of our travel time. So I like that information there. Again, I wish we just saw it in miles per kilowatt hour. If there's a way to convert it really easily off of all the data we see here, and I'm not aware of that, I'll put that information right there over this video. But so far so good. I don't think we're going to even charge at all until we finally reach our second destination on this road trip today. So we'll just see how we can carry through, and so far so good. I actually really like it on the highway. Like I said, it has lane keep assist, it has the Fiat co-driver, which is its full adaptive cruise control settings, which it does pretty much keep you within the lanes. You know, this vehicle is so tiny and so thin and so short, you don't realize how small it is in between these two lanes. And well, it's only when you get in something, or just come out of something like a Bronco Raptor that I was just in, that's like almost 80 inches wide, and you get into this Fiat 500e, it's such a huge difference in terms of keeping what it means to keep a vehicle in between two lanes, because you have so much room to play with the Fiat. But with that Bronco, that lane keep assist system is really active all the time, really keeping you in the lanes, because it's almost taking up a full set of that lane. Nonetheless, guys, I will update you probably closer towards our first destination and see a little bit of an update on the 500e, and stay tuned for more. Well, hello everyone, we are almost at our final destination for today, and let's do a little bit of a check-in. Well, first final destination of today. We now have 60% state of charge, so that is around 28% decrease from what we started at around 88% state of charge. Now we're down to 83 miles, so about, I think, in line with what we've traveled, so not too bad actually. Let's go back to our trip computer if I can find it. Probably should have went the other way in the infotainment system to get a better look at it quicker. There we go. Trip B, 40.8 miles traveled, 51 mile per hour average, and we are arriving. So guys, how is the Fiat 500e to drive around? Well, like I mentioned, it is quite fun, pretty decent, and very zippy and peppy to pop around. So I actually quite enjoy it on the highway. You know, again, I'm gonna say it one more time, efficiency ratings, I could be a little bit better to view in the vehicle, though I think it's not bad for what it is. Its battery pack size and the size of the vehicle itself. So really great petting around city car, very short trips where you can go charge probably at your next destination. But overall, I quite like it a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed this section of this drive, and stay tuned for the rest coming soon. Okay, everyone, we are back out in the Fiat 500e for a second part of this journey. Now we will be covering an additional 30 miles. We just did around 20 miles in between our last trip and this trip now, and still on the same battery charge. So we've now dropped down to 49%. We're starting off this trip on 49% state of charge with 76 miles left on this battery pack on the Fiat 500e. Now we have 30 miles to our destination, so we're definitely going to be a bit lower, and I'm curious to see what our exact percent state of charge will be when we arrive at our destination. Again, nothing really has changed too much in terms of our screens and information here. The 500e is still putting around perfectly as it was before. Really no major complaints or issues there. We're going back to our trip B, our fuel economy. Instant fuel economy over this 62.2 miles we've traveled is 162.3 miles per gallon equivalent. Not too bad there. And yeah, still very comfortable of a vehicle, like no issues whatsoever as well. So it's really nice to kind of move around. And one of the really standout things that I've experienced this week with the 500e is just how solid it kind of feels on the road. You know, these tiny little cars in this class don't, or at least in the past, didn't typically feel very substantial or safe or solid. This one does. I think, again, probably the battery pack and that weight of it being so low down in the center of the vehicle is really helping with that stability, and of course the extra sound editing that you need to have with an EV, just because it's so quiet in general. So I think they did a good job on that. There's like this natural electric motor whine that I do actually quite like, and it's just nice enough there in the background for you in the 500e, where it really isn't annoying, but it is there kind of reminding you just a little bit that you have something driving those front wheels. Now coming down this hill over here, this is where I kind of like to throw it into normal mode, because it kind of coasts a little bit and can put that regen in. You can also drive it in range or Sherpa mode, but then you'll be in those kind of one pedal driving style situations there where you get to kind of control that regen. So Sherpa mode, I'm not sure if I mentioned this earlier, but it actually shuts off the AC. You can turn it back on, though it'll give you a warning level saying cabin conditioning on, battery level and range may be limited. But that Sherpa and range mode are really there to kind of extract the most amount of range out of the vehicle. And coming down these hills situations here, it does regen quite a nice bit. I think all the way up to, let's see what we can get up to, 36, 34 kilowatts, depending on what speed you're on, which is not bad. You have to remember, the DC fast charging speed also isn't really very high on this vehicle. It's like 88 kilowatts. So that's quick for this size of a battery pack, but you know, in the general space of EVs, obviously with larger battery packs, it's a little bit of a slow speed to get up to that, fill up the entire pack. But with only around 44 kilowatt hours we're dealing with here, you don't really need those super high. Okay guys, we're coming off the highway here, and oh boy, have we seen some degradation in our range. You know, higher speeds in especially these smaller EVs isn't always its favorite thing in terms of efficiencies. We've now dropped down to 33%. We started this day off with 88%, and to be completely honest, we have done quite a lot of traveling and driving and maneuvering around to get this down to 34%, where we are at now, which is honestly not too bad. I've traveled quite a lot. We've been doing pretty good in terms of numbers. Now, you know, one thing to talk about here is range anxiety, and obviously, if you're buying this EV, and I don't know if this is the best starter EV to kind of get into, unless you have older vehicles, whether it be longer range EVs or gas or hybrids or plug-in hybrids, and you have this car as like a local urban city suburban commuter vehicle. I honestly think it's a fantastic choice to have. But if this is like your first EV, and you know, you're someone who likes to go on road trips and stuff, this probably will not be a vehicle for you. Though, you know, going around town within 150-mile distance all day is 100% doable, and you can get a lot of range recuperated just from using the regen modes. And I really loved driving in Sherpa mode around. And funky name, it's a weird, I guess, name for a car, but it honestly is quite nice. It limits you to 50 miles an hour unless you push the kickdown switch, which it does have one, and then it overrides it. Sherpa mode, I mentioned earlier, does turn off the AC, but you can turn it back on. And the AC really doesn't pull that much. It's pulling like 1 kilowatt of power out of this, so I think it's a pretty efficient system. And again, needed today, it's just a little bit hot and humid, but really so far so good. We'll only have around 4 miles left on this trip, so I'm honestly pretty impressed. I was expecting to see a lot lower percentage in the battery, and even less range actually. So I think we've done good on efficiency, and for one last time we're going to pop over to our efficiency page. Average trip B, we've been doing 88.4 miles we've now traveled, so that means we've almost traveled 100 miles. We started out, I believe, around 120-ish miles of range, so I think it's pretty accurate in that aspect. Our average fuel economy, 162.3 mpge, miles per gallon equivalent, and average trip speed so far has been 37 miles an hour. Very mixed, mostly highway driving actually, a little bit of some local putting around driving like we are in right now. And I think Sherpa mode is the best mode to be in when you're in city environments, not even range mode, because it blends both range mode and the normal driving mode to kind of give you this more aggressive regen, one pedal driving effect, but nothing too aggressive where you feel like you're being juddered back and forth all the time when you're letting on and off your accelerated pedal. Otherwise, guys, I'm going to end it up now. We are in some stop and go traffic here, and I hope you enjoyed this road trip day in the 2024 Fiat 500e. I'm really excited to hopefully see more of these around the area once they start making their way through the US market. Now that, as I'm filming this, it kind of just came into the market here, and I know Fiat's already working on an improved range version of this one. In Europe, I know they have an even smaller range pack available, and I believe they're bringing a mild hybrid combustion engine version in Europe as well, because it is being demanded. So I think a lot of fun stuff is going to be coming soon out of the Fiat brand. Hopefully we have a little bit of a resurgence here in the US as they're seeing in other markets. But it's a pretty cool, quirky car, and I honestly would probably take this over the new Mini, or the current at least, Mini Cooper EV if I was looking for that lower range, lower priced EV. Now, the other argument to be had here is that, you know, things like a Model 3 and a lot of these other EVs that were very expensive, now used, even lightly used with just a bit miles, are really cheap. They're in the low $30,000 range, and you may be getting more space, you're getting more range. If you're getting a used Tesla example, you have that full supercharger access network available to you. So there's a lot of things to consider, but I wouldn't brush this EV off the table. It's actually pretty good. I wouldn't even call it a compliance car anymore. The original 500e back in like 2015, that era, that was a compliance vehicle. It was really built to meet the California emission standards here in the United States, and I'm not sure if people are going to connect those two together, but that may turn some people off if they're seeing that versus this. But like I said, pretty good vehicle. I'm happy with it, and as always, stay tuned for more coming in on Allcarnews, and thank you again for watching this video. Cheers.